What's going on, football fans? It's me, J.R. Clark, back with another Pound for Pound ATL Memorial Day edition, as it is Memorial Day when I am recording this. This will come out the day after Memorial Day, but I just want to take the time to say thank you to all those who have served. I've had friends and family, as I'm sure most of all of you have or do have friends or family that serve in our armed forces. And I just want to take the time to say thank you, because without their willing sacrifice to do what they're doing, it would be hard for me to sit here and do what I'm doing. Anyway, I hope y'all have had a really good Memorial Day. I know for the rest of us, it's a day off. I hope you have fired up your grills or do whatever it is that you like to do on a day such as this. Over the last few days, I've been thinking about the fact that we still have some cap space left. And so let's take a look at it. We got, as of Spotrac, or according to Spotrac, we have $12.6 million left in cap space by extending Jake Matthews and extending Grady Jarrett. This is where we currently sit. Now, we still need to sign Desmond Ridder and Arnold Ebiketie, but second and third round picks aren't going to take up a ton of number-wise. So I would still say that we'll probably have, we'll just say $10 million. So that's a decent amount of money to go do something with this year. Now I'm imagining they're going to want to take a little bit of it into the season for emergency purposes. So let's say it's, they want to take $4 or $5 million into the season. That'll leave us somewhere around $5 to $6 million, depending. So got me thinking. There's still help that is needed on this team. There is still areas of concern for me. And so there's still players out there that could come in and either vie for a starting position or get a starting position and push who's already on the roster. Let's start with the most glaring need, in my opinion, is at left guard. Now, why do I say that that's the most glaring position? I know a lot of us aren't a huge fan of PFF, but it's the analytics that I have available to me. So it's the ones that I'm going to use to try to help illustrate my point. So first up is our good buddy Jalen Mayfield. You see those colors over there, right? 48.2, 27.6, 66.9. Those top two are, the red and orange is not good. Let's just keep it real. He was one of the worst guards that PFF has, I think, ever graded. That's worrisome. Now, I know he was switching positions. I know that he was going from right tackle to left guard, and that's a big jump or a big switch for, a career tackle to all of a sudden switch to guard. I don't think they were necessarily expecting him to have to play right away, but nonetheless, them's the breaks. He played right away and looked horrible doing it. His run blocking grade was probably his best grade, but other than that, it was not encouraging at all. From start to finish, the start of the season all the way to the end, he was still making a lot of the same mistakes, still blocking no one at times. So he just looked lost and confused out there. So that would be the first place I would look to try to upgrade myself. And so one of the names that I want to bring to you today is Ereck Flowers. Now, Ereck Flowers had his own struggles. He struggled at left tackle up in New York mightily. But once he got moved into guard, he fared a lot better. The last 2 years in Washington have been solid years for Ereck Flowers. Now, Ereck Flowers became a cap casualty in Washington for whatever reason. You see his grades there. Overall 72, a almost 80 on the run blocking, or that's pass blocking, and a 64 run blocking. He is a serviceable left guard, and you should be able to get him relatively cheap since he was cut late in the process. All the big money has been handed out. So if Terry does what he's been doing, which is, hey, let me get you this like smaller contract with the appeal and the hopes of earning a bigger contract next year, kind of like Cordell Patterson did. Like that's a pitch that has been working. Worked on Lorenzo Carter, worked on Casey Hayward, worked on a handful of other guys that I'm blanking on right now. Auden Tate. These are the guys that was the sales pitch. Hey, you come in and, play good for us, and we got a lot of money next year, so we can, like, really help you out. So that's the guard position. There are other guys out there, but really Eric Flowers is the one that suits the scheme the best. Washington played a lot of zone running, so that's what we ran the most of. So that's something that I would expect our coaching staff to be looking for, is zone blocking kind of guards. And Eric Flowers, like, he represents an upgrade big time to me. And over the offseason so far, outside of the 6th round draft pick Justin Schaefer, they haven't really brought anybody in to compete with Jalen Mayfield. So this would represent a real competition for Mayfield, in my opinion. Now, let's keep this train on a rolling, train on a trucking. Next guy up is Matt Hennessy. Now, Hennessy, oddly enough, has an overall grade of 77. Now, this is where, like, us as fans tend to have a disconnect with PFF. Like, it's almost like, how do you watch this guy and say he was a good run blocker and a horrible pass blocker? I guess he was a good run blocker because he was able to get up in space. And on that zone run, that's what you need. But I'm not a huge fan of Hennessy at this point. He doesn't do well enough in pass blocking, and you can't just run block all the time. Like the sub 60 grade for pass blocking is unacceptable to me. So, who would I like to bring in? J.C. Tretter. J.C. Tretter is another, like, he represents another Alex Mack, in my opinion. Obviously from the Browns, consummate pro. He's the head of the NFLPA. The fact that he's still sitting out on the market is amazing to me. Like, I would be beating the drum for J.C. Tretter. I mean, an overall 78.7, got a 83 pass blocking grade and a 74 run blocking grade. He can be that tone setter on that offensive line. You saw the improvement we made when Alex Mack got here. The line went from atrocious to amazing, or not, well, more than amazing, more than serviceable, by just adding Alex Mack. J.C. Tretter, to me, represents that same type of upgrade. Even if you wanted to roll with Mayfield, even if you wanted to stick with Mayfield, do Mayfield a solid and bookend him in between two stalwart veterans, in Jake Matthews and in J.C. Tretter. I know that you drafted Dahlman last year in the 3rd round or 4th round. I don't care. Okay? Bring in J.C. Tretter, even if it's for a 2-3 year deal. Let Dahlman convert to left guard. You played him there a little bit last year. Let him, like, develop there, or keep developing as a backup center with potential starter in long run. But you bring in J.C. Tretter and your run game improves and your pass game improves immediately. You're going to start Marcus Mariota and or Desmond Ridder. Like, having that stalwart veteran in front of them is going to do nothing but make it look that much better and make you look that much more like a genius. If you roll out there with Matt Hennessy or even Drew Dahlman as your center, with a rookie behind him or Marcus Mariota who's trying to resurrect his career, I don't like the odds. I really don't. So, to me, that stands as like the best use of the money. You've already went out and were aggressive with the wide receiver. You brought in Brian Edwards. You brought in Auden Tate, Cordell Hodges. Like, I think you've done well at the skill position. It is far and away better than it was last year. So I'm not necessarily worried about the Odell Beckhams or the Will Fullers or what have you. I think what you have in the pass catching game is going to be more than serviceable. I actually think it has a real chance to be real good. But to make it look even better, we really do need to address this offensive line that has not been addressed yet. At least the left side, like center to left side, has not been addressed yet, and that's worrisome to me. Maybe by the time camp rolls around, a lot of this will be like they'll be looking better and I won't have to worry. But if we go into the preseason looking like we did last year, I'm going to be very worried. So that's the offensive side of the ball. I say if you're going to use that money somewhere, use it on that offensive line. I think that could be your best bang for your buck for the people who are still out on the market. Now let's move over to the other side of the ball. I only have one other graphic, but there's a couple guys I'm going to talk about. The first and foremost, you want a true running partner for Grady Jarrett, another like veteran who can help get these young guys going. Give me Akeem Hicks. Even last year, Hicks was a very productive player. You can see his grades there. He's obviously got that Chicago tie from Ryan Pace, and some of the other coaching staff should be very familiar with him. I think he's a guy who can come in right away and create a force on that defensive line. Help get, the other guys, like bring them along as far as like veterans, because you've got a very young defensive line outside of Grady Jarrett. You got a couple second-year players in Taquan Graham, third-year player in Marlon Davidson. You hope he does something. The team just released John Kaminsky, so I think they're going to be looking for another edge guy or even a guy who can, really rush the passer. Now, Akeem Hicks, I think, could, Fontenot, he was there when Akeem Hicks played for the Saints. So familiarity screams opportunity to me. Older guy, shouldn't take much of a contract, and could instantly come in and add some real true like depth to that defensive line. Now I'm going to stick with the defensive line for the remainder of this video, and one of the guys that's been brought up in a lot of chats is Larry Ogunjobi as another like pass rushing defensive tackle. He had 8 sacks last year. So good pass production. His run blocking grades aren't all that high, but as a sub package, another pass rushing defensive tackle, he could be an interesting get. Now, if you want to talk about like pure edge guys, JPP is still out there. Who else is still out there? Ryan Kerrigan is still out there. These are little older guys who could come in and help your young defensive linemen learn what it is to be a pro, learn like some of the tricks and the trades there. So there are some options, and I don't think that they're done. Honestly, I don't. I would imagine that before we actually get to like camp, you're going to see another signing or maybe two, depending on how things are structured. Me, myself, I would like to see an offensive lineman sign, either to compete for the center spot or to compete for the left guard position. And I would also like to see them add to the pass rush. But yes, I know we drafted Ebiketie. I know you have, Ogunjobi. That's not Ogunjobi. Oh, the pass rusher out of Notre Dame, my mind locked up on me. I know you got him. I know you got Ebiketie. I know you got Lorenzo Carter. And I know you got D'Angelo Malone. I would like to see them add one more veteran piece. Like Lorenzo Carter does represent an ascending like veteran, but he's not a grizzled veteran. I wouldn't mind one grizzled veteran to add to that room, to add to that rotation. And I think somebody like a JPP could be an interesting one, or even a Ryan Kerrigan. Or if you want to dip in the well, Pernell McPhee is still out there. Jamie Collins is still out there. So these are guys that are familiar with Dean Pease, or at least the system that Pease runs, and could come in and help. Well, that's what I got for y'all today. Like I said, man, I really hope y'all enjoyed your holiday, and I hope you have a real good work week. As always, y'all can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Grim1128, GRIMM1128. 1128. You can follow Toby D at Toby D 1991 and catch us on these lives that we do every other week. And outside of that, keep your eye on the channel as we put out other videos. As always, Falcons fans, rise up.